Hi guys, I'm the Dutch Movie Guy, and today I'm reviewing this book, Tarkin. I'm reviewing some of the Star Wars canon books that I've read before the upcoming Rebels and Rogue One. It's just that I love Star Wars, so I want to review these kind of things. There are a lot of comics and books and series and there's a movie coming out, so I'm like, I want to review some Star Wars things because that's awesome. This means I already reviewed Lords of the Sith and A New Dawn, two of the other novels taking place between episode 3 and episode 4. This also is that. If you've missed my reviews for New Dawn and Lords of the Sith, you can click right here to see those. Because these 3 books are the 3 books that we have right now between episode 3 and Star Wars Rebels. And Star Wars Rebels is just before episode 4. So it's all in some way connected to either Star Wars Rebels or Rogue One. Therefore I wanted to talk about them. So Tarkin, of course, is a book about Tarkin. Who else would it be, right? It is about his backstory because we only really saw him in one movie. For the people who've watched Clone Wars, he is in Clone Wars. He makes appearances in Rebels as well. But we only really know his character from that one movie called Star Wars. We don't really know a whole lot else about him because in that movie, he was like the only Imperial to really like talk down to Vader. He was the boss of the Death Star, and it's like, if you have all that power, you have to have done something, right? Because there's nobody else in the Empire who's as powerful as Tarkin is, and there's a reason to that, and that is explained in this book. This book explains the origin of Tarkin and also gives you a reason why Tarkin is so highly regarded by the Emperor and Darth Vader. That's also the reason why this book has the Emperor and Darth Vader in it, and what I was really happy about is that this feels like the actual characters. This feels like it actually is Darth Vader, like it is Tarkin, like it is the Emperor, not that it's someone trying to read those characters, because you really have to get those characters. Like, what are they like? You really get a lot of quotes from things they have said in the original trilogy, like, "You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander." Something along those lines is in this book. So when you see that, that's like, yeah, this is Vader. This is nothing else than Vader. It's not somebody to write Vader. It is Vader, because he says that at a point where you expect him to say that, because it's a similar situation as to Return of the Jedi, where he's talking to an Imperial officer that is not all that capable. Is like, shut up. I'm here to put you back on schedule. All those kind of things. So it's really awesome to actually see those characters. About Tarkin though, Tarkin, as I said, is one of the people who can like talk down to Vader. He's the boss of the Death Star. He actually is good friends with Vader. You don't know that from the movie, I know that from the book. This book explains why Vader has respect for Tarkin. Tarkin has a certain backstory, I won't spoil anything, but it involves his youth. He was a very young kid when he was taken away from his parents to get through his trials to become this harsh Imperial that he is. Because Tarkin had a rough youth. I mean, his parents weren't very nice to him. There's even a line in the book when Tarkin is like a 10-year-old kid. He's having dinner with his parents and he asks his parents about the trials that he is about to face, and his father is like, you might just die. And Tarkin at that point is like, would you miss me if I die? And his parents are like, yeah, we miss you. And that's it. They're so cold. It's like, wow. As a 10-year-old kid having dinner with your parents, being told that they just miss you and they have no emotion in expressing that whatsoever, they're like, yeah, we miss you. Who cares? It's like, what the hell? He had a really rough youth. He had a really rough trial. I won't spoil anything, but it's harsh, and you really get that Tarkin is this really harsh person, and that there is a reason that Darth Vader respects him. Because in this book, this is really the first real mission that Vader and Tarkin are together, and at the beginning they're a little bit like, yeah, we talk, but that's it. At one point, Tarkin just opens up to Vader and just explains his backstory, and Vader is really interested in that. Vader really respects that, and therefore they are good friends. Therefore, they actually have this mutual respect, and that's the reason why Tarkin can talk down to Vader, because Tarkin is harsh. He is like, no bullshit, I'm the leader of the Death Star in episode 4, So he can talk down to Vader, and that's awesome. It's really great how they were able to explain that in this book. Not only that though, you also get a good relation between Tarkin and the Emperor. You get what their relation is built on, because the funny thing is they actually met when Palpatine was just a senator and when Tarkin was just someone in the Republic. They met, they found oh, we are on kind of equal terms, and from then they went on to become friends, and therefore the Emperor is like, okay, now you are one of the Moffs in my empire. So I've talked a lot of positives up until this point, but there definitely are some negatives. This book, for me, started off slow and a little bit annoying, and I wasn't really into it. It took me about a week to get to page 100, because I was just casually reading and doing other things as well. And then at one point I was looking up a little bit of reviews of people, and they say that it gets really good, and I was like, oh, I need to start reading this again. And from page 100 to the end, that took me like 2 or 3 days. Then I was really locked into it. I was like, yeah, I have to read this because this is awesome. But the thing is, when I started this book, it had really long pages of text, and I have to be really locked into it. And I've actually heard some people say that they were turned off by the fact that it has really long pages of text. And I can give you an example right now. I think you can see that, like, you have one space here, one space here, one here, one here, and one here. It's like it's 5 spaces on 2 pages. Sometimes you have a lot of text before it goes to the next paragraph, and it's like you really have to keep reading, be locked into it, pay attention. And at the beginning, I was like, whoa, I am not used to this. I'm used to not that much text, not being that much into it, and it starts like that from the beginning of this book. So you really have to get used to that, and that for me was a little bit annoying at the beginning. So I was like, I am not sure if I like this all that much. At one point though, I got used to it, I got more into it, so then I was able to get past it. But that was the reason that in my first week I didn't read that much, because it was a little annoying to really get through a lot of text and really having to be locked into it, because I usually want to read a little bit, then check my Facebook and Twitter, and then continue reading. And like I have to have a little bit of a distraction while I'm reading. That's just how I work. So when I have to really be locked into it, like stay focused, it's like I'm not sure if I can do that. But at one point I was able to do that. I was able to get locked into it, so then it got better. Also, this book, as I said, has to do with Tarkin's past while having to do with his present as well, because this book takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, while still having the flashbacks to when he was younger. So you have those flashbacks occur at some random points that you're reading, and it's like, oh, I'm in a flashback now. I didn't realize that, so I have to read back. And it's like, okay, so here it transitions into a flashback. Usually, flashbacks in other books that I've read occurred when there is like an enter, a space, and then it continues with the rest. This book doesn't have that a lot to begin with, and it certainly doesn't bother with it when it goes to a flashback. You just see the thoughts that Tarkin has, and then it's like, oh, and now he is thinking about something in the past, so now it just goes to that past. And at the beginning I was a little bit like, this is not what I'm used to from the other books. And the same thing with the long pages of text. At one point I got into it, so I got used to it. So at the end I was used to it, and the story got more interesting also. So at the end it was a lot better to read this. But at the beginning it was like really get into it. It took me a long time to get into it, but like when I got into it, then it got really good. So if you have a little bit of an issue starting to read this book, believe me, it gets better, and now at least you know what you're getting into with a long page of text and some weird transitions. I didn't know that. You have my warning right now. I didn't have any warning. I was just like, it's a good book. Okay, so let's read it. And at the beginning I was like, oh, it's a little annoying, but it gets better. So believe me, it gets better. I really like this book actually. It's not the best that I've read. I've read books in the new canon now that I was way more into, like Lost Stars, Bloodline, Lords of the Sith. But I think after those 3, this one comes in, because I will give Tarkin an 8 out of 10. I actually really liked it. I like the relation between Tarkin, the Emperor, and Vader. So I definitely recommend reading it, especially if you want a little bit more backstory to why Tarkin can talk down to Vader, because that is something that wasn't really explained in episode 4. Anyway, that's all I can say about Tarkin. And I wonder, have you read it? And if so, what did you think of it? Like, did you like it as much as I did, or perhaps not? Or maybe you liked it even more? Please, whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out my review for Star Wars Rebels Season 3, Episode 1 this Sunday. It's premiering. I can't wait for Star Wars Rebels Season 3 to finally start. I really hope it improves upon Season 2, because Season 2 I already loved more than Season 1. So look out for that. And as always, if you've liked my review and you want to see more of my movie and trailer reviews, click right here.